Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am here with yet another video. We do have a couple more videos posted every single day in August. We're coming towards the end of August, but I'm still posting every single day. And today I'm here with another video, and today we're going to talk about autumn. So we are still in summer, even though it doesn't feel like it. It's been very cold here, and someone actually commented on my video yesterday saying, "Are you wearing a jumper in August?" And yes I was, and yes I do, quite a bit, because it is relatively cold here in the UK. Plus I've been feeling under the weather, so yeah, it is what it is. But overall, it feels like we're already getting into autumn, so I wanted to make this video talking through the palettes that I'm going to reach for this autumn. I just pulled out palettes that I am drawn to right now that I feel like I'm going to reach for in the next coming months, and yeah, I want to talk you through them. I am very excited because these color stories are ones that I absolutely love. They're like the warm, cozy kind of color stories. They're like the greens, they're like the rich colors, all of those kind of things. And yeah, I'm excited to share with you. I don't know how many palettes I have. I think I have maybe around 10 palettes. But yeah, I'm excited to talk you through them. But before I jump into the first palette, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. Let's jump into the video. Alright, so I'm going to go in brand order. I'm going to mix it up a little bit because usually I just go from my spreadsheet down, always start with Anastasia, ending with like my miscellaneous palettes, but I'm just going to go a bit more random this time, but still in brand order. So the first brand I'm going to talk about is Pat McGrath, and I do have two palettes from Pat McGrath that I'm going to reach for this upcoming autumn. First up, we have one that I've already reached for this year, but I'm excited to reach for it again because I think it's a really beautiful, rich, autumnal color story, and that is the Bronze Seduction palette. I do think this one is again very autumnal in the sense of it has like some rich browns. They're not super warm, but they're still warm leaning. You have like this really beautiful rusty red, you have kind of some greenier shades, and I just think overall that this is a beautiful color story. It is honestly still one of my favorite Pat McGrath palettes. I do love another one more, but this is definitely up there, and it has some of my favorite shades. I absolutely love this kind of rose gold shade, and as well as this inner corner shade. It does have a little bit of a dip on it actually, but yeah, very excited to reach for this one again because I think it's a beautiful palette for autumn. And then the second palette from Pat McGrath is one that I haven't reached for yet this year, but I do think again it's a very autumnal palette, and that is this one right here, which is the Moonlit Seduction. This one is definitely more kind of cool tone leaning. It does have some kind of rustier reddish mattes with a more cool tone brown, and then it has loads of shimmers. It has some kind of blue brown pigments, some more, you know, cool toned kind of silvery, I don't know, silvery taupes, and also like some more kind of cool tone leaning golds. And overall, it's, for me, I don't know, it just speaks autumn to me, even though it is a bit more cool toned. I think maybe it's because of the richness of the colors. So I'm excited to reach for this one too. I again haven't reached for this one this year, and it's not like my favorite Pat McGrath palette, but I'm excited to play around with it more and make some exclusive looks with it. And all of the palettes that I haven't reached for yet this year, I am going to roll into my big fat eyeshadow project in the next coming months. So I will do 3 exclusive looks with them, which means that I will get to know them better and hopefully make some beautiful looks with them. So this is definitely one of those. Alright, so those were the 2 Pat McGrath palettes. We're going to move on to Anastasia next, and we have my Subculture palette. So this palette is not the original Subculture palette. I have actually kind of frankened together the Subculture and the Jackie Aina palette, and my palette now looks like this. It is a beautiful, warm, rich brown bronze kind of color story. I absolutely love it. I feel like this is the penultimate autumn palette now. I think it's such a beautiful color story. I'm really proud in how this one turned out. It has my favorite shades from both palettes, and it's just such a beautiful palette. I absolutely love it. I'm so happy that I decided to do that with this palette. And yes, I know that it's not the original Subculture anymore, but I took out all the shades that I didn't, you know, reach for very often. And of course the same with Jackie Aina, and now I have a palette with favorites. So of course another palette that I'm excited to reach for in autumn, because again it's such a beautiful autumnal color story. And I can't wait to make 3 looks with it, especially now since I have kind of franked it together. I haven't done, I think, a pure look with this palette since I franked it, or since I like mashed them together. So So I'm excited to eventually roll this one again into my Big Fat Eyeshadow project. Let's do Natasha Denona next, and I have 4 palettes from her. First one is we have a mini palette, and this one is the gold, mini gold palette, which is honestly a bit more kind of green leaning. But this one has some more warm tone greens, some cool tone kind of greens. It has a goldy green and more of a transition shade. So it has a lot of versions of green. They're again more cool tone, warm tones, all mixed together, but overall I feel like they are all very autumnal type of greens, and I think that's because they are a little bit more muted. I do have panel all these shades because it was my Project Level Up Level 5 palette last year, so I have already showed this palette quite a lot of love, but again I haven't reached for it this year, so I'm excited to again work on this one in my Big Fat Eyeshadow project and make 3 looks with it. Yeah, it's obviously a smaller palette, but it's still a beautiful one, and I'm excited to reach for this one, and autumn is the perfect season for that. Then the next palette, well, we have 2 kind of midi palettes next from Natasha Denona. One of them is one that I haven't reached for at all yet. This is the Jucca palette, which I got as a gift earlier this year, and I haven't reached for it at all. I'm excited to do so though. This is a beautiful, beautiful color story, and this is definitely for me an autumnal color story. I do guess you could make kind of looks with this one other times of the year too. But for me, this is one that is definitely a autumnal color story. It does have those kind of warm greens with those kind of orangey tones, and has some beautiful shimmers. It does have like some teals in it too, also with cool tone greens. But overall, I think this is a very beautiful, beautiful palette, and yeah, I'm excited to play around with it. I don't really have too many thoughts yet because I haven't made a single look with this palette yet. I've been saving it to roll into my Big Fat Eyeshadow project, and it's a really beautiful palette, so I can't wait to play around with it, and I'm very, very grateful that I have this one in my collection. I just need to find the right time to play with it, but I think I'm going to roll it into my Big Fat Eyeshadow project in September, which means that I will be able to reach for this one very, very soon. The next mini palette from Natasha Denona is the one that I'm wearing on my eyes today. Can you guess which one it is? Maybe. That is the bronze palette. So this one is currently in my Big Fat Eyeshadow project, which is why I'm making a look with this palette. But I love this palette. It's one of my favorites. I really do love it. I love how rich and beautiful these colors are. I feel like this is more of a kind of late summer, early autumn palette for me, which is why I'm retrieving it now in end of August. But yeah, it's a beautiful palette. I just love the rich tones of the like browns. They just so like yummy. I never can describe it. It's just such a beautiful richness to them. The shimmers are beautiful too. It has some more kind of sparkly shimmers, which I adore, and I'm very grateful for, because a lot of time Natasha Denona can be more satiny, and yes, there are some satin shades in here too, but there's just a lot of variation to it, even though it is still very monotone. I'm excited to do my 3 looks with this palette. It's actually the first look that I'm making with this palette, and I'm excited to make the other 2 looks because I want to see how versatile it is, because I know a lot of people say like it's all same in this palette, and yes, there are a lot of similarities, a lot of similar shades, but I do still feel like I can get some good variety in this palette, so I'm excited to make the 3 looks. But today I wanted to go with like the penultimate, just orange, warm kind of color story. And yeah, the thing is, I think with this palette is it is warm tone, it is like orange leaning, but it's like, I don't know, it's just like a bit more, it's not like primary orange, it's a little bit more kind of yellowy undertones, which I think is why I like them. Just because, or like, I don't know, even like reddish in the browns, because I feel like I don't really like primary orange looks very much anymore, and these are just tones that I actually adore. So that's why I like this palette, and again, I can't wait to reach for it more. It's definitely going to be a good palette to reach for now, again, end of summer, beginning of autumn. And then the final palette from Natasha Denona is another beautiful, beautiful one, which is full of warm tones, but also some other tones too, and that is my Metropolis palette. This is my first ever Natasha Denona palette. I've had this one for quite a few years now, and I still adore it, and it looks like this. And by the way, this is what I'm talking about. This kind of orange right here is like, I was actually having this one in my palette eyeshadows, not that you can tell, but I used this one 15 times. And that is like the kind of orange that I don't like as much anymore, but as you can see, compared to my eyes, this one has more like yellowy undertones, I guess. But anyway, this is about this specific palette, and this is a beautiful color story. It is, again, a lot to do in here. You have those kind of muted greens, which I think are very autumnal. You have the rich kind of oranges and warm browns, and you also have some like tealy shades, some kind of crimson, warm copper, all of those kind of things. So there's a lot of, again, variety to it, but I feel like all of those type of shades are very autumnal, so I do really love this palette. And I feel like this time of year is the perfect time to reach for it because it does have so much variety to it. Again, I haven't reached for this one in my big fat eyeshadow project yet, so I'm going to do that in the next coming months, and I'm excited to do so again because there's so much variety to it. I know that I'm going to want to make way more than 3 looks with this palette, so it's going to be hard to narrow down what shades to use. But ultimately it is an absolutely beautiful palette, and I really should get more use out of this one because it is my oldest Natasha Denona palette and I don't feel like I've shown it enough love. So I definitely need to use it a bit more and get some more dips in here. Okay, so we have 4 palettes left, which means that we have 11 to talk about. I just counted them up, by the way. But the next one is, again, a beautiful autumnal color story to me. It's a palette that I haven't really been drawn to so far this year because I haven't been drawn to these colors very much. But I do feel like I'm gonna switch that mindset a little bit now when we get into autumns, because I know I love these type of colors in autumn. And that is the Mountain Cherry palette, and the color story that I'm talking about are these, again, muted kind of greens. So this one has some similarities to some other palettes that I've talked about. It does have those kind of warm browns that have a bit more of a yellowy undertone, or more of a yellowy green kind of undertone. It does also have some more kind of cool tone browny greens, which means that it does have that variety. The shimmers in here are also absolutely stunning. The Sydney Grace formula is amazing and it's very, very well formulated, and this palette is exactly the same. So the shimmers also, again, give variety, has more of a yellowy kind of undertoned shimmer, some more kind of olivey undertoned, as well as some more kind of cool toned, well, not cool tone in the sense of like turquoise, but more kind of just muted, deeper kind of foresty greens, if anything. But yeah, it's a beautiful color story. It's a 9-pan, but I know that I can reach for these shades almost as neutrals, especially in autumn, so I'm excited to do so. And this is another one that I have not yet reached for this year, which means that I'm going to have to make 3 looks with it. And again, it's another one that I can't wait with because I miss this palette. Again, I haven't been drawn to these shades, but I feel like they're starting to tug on my heartstrings a little bit, because we are getting into these kind of cozy season, like where you want to snuggle up under the blanket with candles on, have baths, all of that kind of stuff. I love summer, and I'm sad that we didn't get really much of a summer in the UK this year, but I'm excited for autumn. I don't know, I'm never really that excited when autumn hits. I'm always like sad as summer ends, but this year it's something about them that I'm excited for autumn. So maybe it's because we didn't have a summer anyway, that I'm just gonna, like, we have had a cold summer, and I'd rather it just be a cold autumn. Like, if the temperature's gonna be like that anyway, I just want it to be autumn. Maybe that's what it is, but anyway, this is a beautiful palette and I can't wait for it as soon as I do roll it into my big flagship project, which I think might actually wait until October, but it's gonna be in the next coming months, so this is definitely one that I'm going to reach for, and I'm excited to do so again. The next palette that we have comes from Odin's Eye, and this is the Red Dragon palette, which is from Odin's Eye in collaboration with Judy. And this is, again, a beautiful color story for autumn. It has some similar undertones that we talked about already. It has those kind of warm, kind of grungy, muted greens. It has some kind of coppery, rusty, kind of reddish brown shades. It has, the more kind of warm, slightly brighter shades right here, which I guess makes it a bit more unique. And overall, this is for me very much a tonal palette. I don't really feel like this would go very much into other seasons, maybe like summer perhaps, but for me this one screams autumn as well. I have reached for this palette a little bit this year because I have had 2 shades in my Panels eyeshadows. I still have actually the shade Jade in my Panels eyeshadows, but also the shade Amber I had in my Panels eyeshadows this year. But I haven't reached for it yet in my big fat eyeshadow project, so this is another one that I'm going to have to reach for in the next coming months. And yeah, I think it's going to be nice. I always said that this is a color story that I feel like suits me perfectly. Maybe not so much anymore, but when I first got it, I was like, this is a perfect color story for me. But I feel like I've never really given it enough love. I do have, 2 pans in here, but those were both from like Panels eyeshadows. And I feel like, I want to reach for this palette as a whole because I really haven't done that much. So again, I'm excited to reach for it in that project. Then we have another palette that is currently in my big fat eyeshadow project for the month of August. So I have actually already reached for this one this month, and that is my Club Nebula palette. This is definitely a palette that I feel like could work all year round, but the reason why I'm putting it into my autumnal kind of palettes is because it's very different from everything else that I talked about, but it does have those kind of grungier, deep, but still rich and colorful mattes. And I feel like that is very unique about this palette, and I do really like this palette because of that. It does of course have some brighter shades, which maybe isn't the most autumnal ones, but I feel like if you remove the first 3 shades in the palette, I do feel like the rest of the palette is very, very autumnal leaning. Even like the bottom row with those more kind of peachier shades, I feel like could fall into autumn. So yeah, I definitely think, even though you might look at it and don't agree with me straight away, if I hold this palette up and again cover up those, this is really hard to do, if I cover up those 3 shades, doesn't this palette look very autumnal to you guys now? I feel like it does. Those 3 shades really change the color story, which is another pointer, but looking at the palette without those 3, I feel like this is very much like an autumnal color story, like an autumnal winter color story. So yeah, I'm excited to reach for this one more. Again, it has already been completed in my big fat eyeshadow project, but I'm definitely continuing reaching for this one anyway because I think it's a beautiful color story, and I definitely want to show this one some more love, even though it does have quite a few pans already and even some dips in the deeper mattes. Okay, so we come to the final palette, and this is a palette that was released in autumn, and again I think it's very much an autumnal palette. It's quite a colorful one. Again, it's a little bit different from the rest, and that is my Wilderness palette. So this one has like those again muted colors, and it does have some beautiful kind of again warm kind of greens, but it also has some more cool tone greens and teal, but again they're a bit more muted. It does have blues, it has those like kind of rusty sunset kind of red and oranges, so it has a lot of variety to it. It is an absolutely beautiful palette again, and I haven't reached for this one this year either, so it's another one that I'm gonna have to roll into my big fat eyeshadow project soon. I do have one of these shades in my panels eyeshadow at the moment though, so I will have this palette out anyway. But I think this is a beautiful option if you do want to make more colorful looks for autumn, because it has those options. But even though it's like, I feel like it's almost like a rainbow palette, but it's more of a muted rainbow palette, more of a kind of like, I don't know, it's a different take on a rainbow palette, but I think it's a beautiful one for autumn, so I'll definitely pull this one out soon and make some looks with it. And that, you guys, was the last palette that I wanted to share in this video. These are the palettes that I'm planning to reach for in the next coming months. Most of them, as you can see, have not been reached for this year, which means that they're also going to roll into my big fat eyeshadow project in like, you know, September, October, November, that kind of period. So I'm excited to work on them then. And some of the palettes that I already have reached for this year, I'm excited to pull out again, because I do feel like they very much fall into this season as well, even though I've all reached for them. Maybe I've found them like falling into different seasons as well, and that's why I rolled them into my big fat eyeshadow project at that time. But overall, I feel like these are the palettes that I want to reach for the most this time of year. But let me know what your top pick for autumn is. What palette are you most excited about now when we get into the cozier weather? Let me know down below. I would love to hear from you. Is it anyone that is on my list as well, or do you have a different palette that you are most excited to reach for? Other than that, I hope you guys are having an amazing day wherever you are, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye guys!